Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today I got kind of an exciting video to share with you guys, and it is how I started using broad targeting. And I just wanted to share with you guys inside an ad account. In the last 30 days or so, I spent about $30,000 testing it out versus using single interest ad set targeting, basic targeting that I really had used to using a lot of lookalikes, custom audiences. And I switched over to broad targeting and really just focused on creative and making sure testing out headlines and descriptions. So I wanted to jump into the ad account, share with you kind of the setup, the structure, things that I tested, and what I learned from it. So see you in the account. Peace. Hey guys, now we're in my ad account, and I wanted to show you some of the campaigns, ad sets, and the way I have some things structured here. The reason I have a lot of this blurred out is because these are the actual names of some products in the ad account. And then I did have just a broad dynamic creative campaign, clearly is what I named it. But the rest of these are actually also dynamic creative by specific product types. So, for example, I wanted to test how my broad creative would do, or broad targeting would do, if I was able to pick and segment all of my products into separate campaigns and put enough ad spend behind it. And that's where we're going to look at the results. So far, obviously, this one has been my best. And actually, funny enough, this one is creative that's has non-specific copy and headlines. So meaning my headlines, my primary text, my descriptions were all relatively broad. And so they were things like, you know, number one accessory for, X, Y, or Z. And so it wasn't like super detailed or anything like that, where, typically with your copy, you're supposed to do things like that. Now, some of these other ones do have detailed copy by the creative type, which had done really well too. A $22 cost per purchase here. And then if we scroll to the right and just to look at the ROAS on some of these, the account, was at a 4.78 ROAS. And some of the ones that had sales, or not the ones that had sales, the ones that have done the best for me had these really strong ROAS numbers, like the broad dynamic creative, which I think we spent, how much did we spend there? Let me see if I can let me adjust my columns here. All right, I fixed my columns so it's easier to look at. What we're seeing here is, so for example, this one spent $5,000, had a 7.43 ROAS on it, and did quite well for us. Now, the next one that I would say to really pay attention to is this one. We spent $10,000. This was testing a lot of basic, um, you know, copy headlines, like I said, but still at a 3.5 ROAS. So as you can tell, a lot of room for scale here in terms of turning up spend and just seeing if it can reach a new audience. I think that's really the main benefit of using these broad campaigns, is that, you can make only the adjustments. And from, what I have been testing is only if I'm going to make an adjustment to like age or to gender or to my placement exclusion. So that could be like turning off the Facebook feed, turning off the Instagram feed placements, or, Instagram stories, Facebook right hand column, Facebook left hand side of the column. Any of those little things you can test out to optimize it further. But at this point, we're seeing a pretty good results, and I could dig into this and look at the breakdowns by, any of those things here that I use, and optimize around it. But at this point, we're going in the holiday season. We feel really good about the new content that we're going to be getting in there. And so, kind of going to leave it broad and then make some adjustments as we need to. But the campaign, the cool thing about this is, once you start letting your ad account run on this sort of data, you're basically letting it optimize and learn on its own without having to force it, like go after this one detailed interest group. You're letting it learn and go after who it thinks is going to convert. And that could be someone that maybe isn't in an interest group, but for whatever reason, it knows, let's say I'm selling like iPhone cases, but it knows that someone who is super into horseback riding is ready to buy a new iPhone case. But normally I would only have been doing interest targeting for people interested in iPhone cases. That person might not have been put into that group at the time, but because of the advances in the algorithmic technologies, and it knows who's ready to convert and when to convert, Meta's able to say, hey, I'm going to go and show this ad to that individual because I know where they're at in the buyer process and the buyer journey. So a lot of things like that I just are important to think about and understand when looking at this. And then in terms of my actual structure, I'll jump into some of this and let you guys kind of see a little bit more detail. But what I have here is nothing crazy. One dynamic ad set and then the winners of those. So I'm not going to, well, actually I could go into this and show you how I did it. So I'll do that. But what I typically do is I'll start with my dynamic creative ad set. So we'll click in here. All right. So this is just one ad in that ad set, as that's how dynamic creative works, but there's 5 or 6 different pieces of creative in here. Once I figured out what was working in there, I went and created a new ad set, which was this winners ad set. And then I take the post IDs of that dynamic creative and go and create a separate ad set with all my winners. And because I have a budget set at the campaign level, a CBO, it dynamically is going to spend more money on your best performers over time and put it into the winners. So what does that mean? That means it allows you to continue to, when you take out content out of your dynamic creative ad set, you're able to fill in new content and keep testing and testing and testing. And then you take the winners and just put them in here. So then you develop a really strong ad set here of your best one. So if I go in here, so you can see now in here, and excuse my horrible naming conventions, do not do this. I have my individual pieces of creative that have done the best. And I tested these two, but this one earned the most spend. So it looks like this is at a 2.7 ROAS, but this was on for quite some time. And so anyway, the dynamic creative one, actually in this campaign, now that I'm looking at it, I should probably go back into this ad set and grab the newest one that's the top performer, because it seems to me that the spend is actually becoming more spread back into this. When you do this sort of testing, guys, you'll find that over time, your goal is to get new content into the dynamic creative to beat your winners. And once you find that, then you start to build this really strong ecosystem of your best performing ads, and it keeps the social engagement on your creative. So, and now you got to think now you got to remember that was just one campaign we ran. So you got to remember, a lot of these different things work together. We have different product launches, different product pushes, and you can't get too overwhelmed and bogged down by the structure of kind of what I went through there. But over time, you get into a rhythm and it becomes really, really powerful. So, if you guys have any questions or want me to walk through a little bit more step by step the actual setup of that, and I can do that as well. All right. Thanks for watching.